All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Jenna Wood, and I am a registered dietitian here with the Giant Company. If you're new to our classes, welcome. If you're returning, of course, welcome back. As I mentioned the last time we had this class, we've shifted gears a little bit from 2025, and now our class on Thursdays we refer to as Behind the Brand. And today we are featuring a really awesome brand that we've kind of alluded to over the course of the last few weeks, but we're going to do a deep dive into Blue Zone's kitchen. Very excited to talk about this today. All right. It is one of our dietitian's picks this month. I believe this was a screen grab I took from our weekly ad, I think last week, but just a really nice call out, and you will see it highlighted in a couple different places. But let's see, I think it's a cute little animation that I wanted to put. Their meals are just beautiful. So let us dive into what Blue Zone's kitchen really is. So Blue Zone's kitchen, their meals are crafted for longevity. So we'll touch a little bit more about what Blue Zones are, but truly the concept of longevity, not only do we want to live longer lives, so places in this, demographic are living into their hundreds, some 80s, 90s, hundreds. But not only do we want those years, we also want quality in those years, of course. And so part of this is by their sourcing of these farm sourced ingredients. Their meals are whole food plant-based, and this is a really important distinction because a lot of people can be vegan, vegetarian, but they're not necessarily eating whole food plant-based, which is truly the optimal way of eating, especially when it comes to the blue zones and their longevity claims. The chefs that are making these meals and the sauces and different things, they were really inspired by the recipes, the flavors, and the ingredients that are common to these blue zones, which again, I'm going to show you. And they are ready to heat and then ready to eat meals. So just really unique in this space, which I think is an important distinction. However, we'd be remiss without mentioning Dan Buettner, who is the founder of this movement. So he's a very unique individual. So in 2004, he set out on a quest. So he is a explorer, and he really wanted to learn about the people who live a really long time. Like, what are their quote unquote secrets? What are they doing? What could we learn from them? And you may be familiar with him. You may have seen his Netflix documentary. You may have his books, his cookbooks. And they really have gained quite international acclaim now. And what we have found, so again, Dan is an explorer, a National Geographic fellow, journalist, producer, New York Times bestselling author. So when he started to look into these, people and what they're doing, he really noted five places, and he dubbed those the blue zones. And people there were living really long, really healthy lives. Now, this is not to say there aren't other places in the world, and we'll touch on a couple, but these were really, it hit a lot of the lifestyle, diet, and other considerations that were really common across the five. Now, what I find really fascinating, and this was on their website, not only, he has the cookbooks, he has these meals that we're talking about, but it doesn't stop there. So now he is working across the country in partnership with municipal governments, large employers, insurance companies to really implement these Blue Zone projects in communities, at workplaces, at universities. And the projects are really these initiatives that they took the learning lessons from those communities in these five areas, and they're seeing how we can implement them in our local environments through public policy, through social networks, because social connectivity is a big piece of the Blue Zones as well. Where are the Blue Zones? So this was an image grab from Harvard Health. I couldn't find one elsewhere, but just to kind of showcase where they are in the world. And I believe Charlotte maybe touched on each of these a little bit more, so I'm not going to do too deep of a dive, but there are some similarities, even just like looking at them from right here. So we have Loma Linda, which is here in the United States in California, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Sardinia in Italy, Icaria or Icaria, depending on how you want to pronounce it, in Greece, and then Okinawa in Japan. What calls out to me first, and this is something I've experienced in my own life, they're all by the water. They're all by a sea. And truly, I feel my best when I am near the beach and near these places. So I am not shocked that he found that a lot of these have these characteristics from diet to lifestyle to social connectivity. So these are where he focused his research. We're going to shift gears from just talking about blue zones to really dive into the food itself, because again, there are other pieces of the puzzle when it comes to blue zones, like gratitude and various things we want to consider. It's not just food, but as a dietitian, as a supermarket, of course, we're really interested in that food piece. So the blue zones kitchen meals are rooted in tradition of these blue zone areas, and they are crafted for longevity. Now, if you watched the table talk, I believe, they touched on some of the foods and things that are very common in these diets, but I thought it'd be important to just have them here again. So, what are the foods? What are the categories that we really emphasize? So, first and foremost, fresh, vibrant produce. Now, you might be thinking these are frozen entrees. Yes, but freezing produce, especially, really kind of locks in that nutrition and that wellness. So, and honestly, I'm going to tell you the quality of the vegetables in here, knowing that they have been frozen, they're incredible. So, what are some of the options? You'll see leafy greens, like the one I'm eating today has kale, some sweet potatoes, tomatoes, ancient grains, so grains that have been consumed for a really long time. These can include things like Carolina gold rice, which mine has today, and I did a deep dive on this stuff. Quinoa, durum wheat, so lots of different ancient grains you'll see here. Beans and legumes, which I could talk about just beans alone for a long time. And Dan on the social media pages has a lot of videos about beans. You'll see red lentils, you'll see black and red beans, edamame, and possibly new to you, adzuki beans, which are common in some of the more Korean dishes that we have. And then spices. So they don't rely on added sugars, a ton of salt, fats to flavor their foods. They rely on spices. So some of them are going to be things I love a good smoked paprika, turmeric, guajillo, chilies, cumin. There's a ton. So if you look at the ingredient list, you will see spices and then often some other ones called out. And just really beautiful pictures. And just truly, this is what the ingredients look like when you look at the meals. And I know Charlotte mentioned this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but not only are the ingredients important, but how we're eating our food also matters. And if you've attended our classes in the past, you also know this. But the concept of mindful eating, or in the in Japan, especially in Okinawa, the Hari Hachibu concept is really key. So this is a traditional Confucian-inspired adage and teaching that really emphasizes mindful eating and moderation. It's roughly translated to you eat until you're about 80% full. So we're not overeating. It's a really natural way of calorie restriction, which a lot of the regions he found they weren't overdoing it in calories, which is really important for overall wellness. Now, there is a distinction. So they really recommend looking for the feeling of, I am no longer hungry. And you can't assess that when you're eating if you are eating too quickly or really distracted. So we want to, turn off distractions. We want eating to be the thing we're doing at that moment. So definitely another piece of the eating puzzle. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this too, but this was from their Blue Zones website. And these are all of the different food guidelines. And again, they're guidelines, but truly, this is what Dan Buettner saw in these different Blue Zone regions. So from monthly recommendations, weekly, daily, and of course, those 5 areas are very different places, but they had these similarities. I'm going to skip this for right now because I do have kind of a call out to it again later on, but you'll kind of see a de-emphasis of animal-based products because again, this is a plant-based whole foods guideline and dietary pattern. Snacking on nuts, drinking mostly water, tea, maybe coffee, maybe a little wine. I like, there's a little icon here, eating together, that community feel with meals. Beans are really, really important. And again, just that, emphasis on plant-based and whole foods. And I also really liked this graphic that I wanted to call out because I feel like we live in this society that is so carbohydrate phobic. And that's really not a great place to be. Yes, some people may do better on a lower carb diet, but what we have found in a lot of these regions where people are living a good long time, they are basing their meals on carbohydrate, but those whole foods. So again, the whole grains, the fruits, vegetables, beans, seeds, nuts, those foods. We still need fat, we still need protein, but we're getting a lot of that protein from those plant-based sources again. So there's more information at the link at the bottom, but I wanted to throw this out here just to showcase that carbs are not the enemy. We just want to be eating a really good source of them. And if you remember from yesterday, we talked a lot about fiber, and these meals, these foods are chock full of it. All right, so what do the meals look like? What ones do we carry here at the Giant Company? So we do carry six of, I think they have eight varieties. The two other ones we don't carry are newer. They also sound really delicious, but these are the six we carry right now. And I'm going to get into each of these, but if you are looking for them in your store, you want to look in the natural organic freezers. So not in like the regular frozen aisle. Look, for the most part, it's going to be in those. Um, I have links to both Giant and Martin's down at the bottom if you want to go directly to the page to see which varieties your store might carry. And of course, prices, availability can vary depending on date, store location, and shopping method. But let us get into the flavors. So one of the first, and I heard everybody on my team mentioning this one that they really liked, it is the burrito bowl. So this one is inspired, and you'll kind of see there's inspiration from the regions. So this one is from the Nicoya, Costa Rica. They call out, black beans, sweet potato, the guajillo, chili peppers here. This one earns one guiding star. You'll see some of the little acronyms. I'm sorry if they're a little small, but no added sugar, 7 grams of fiber. The calories are a little on the lower side for what we consider a meal. But again, thinking back to, the Hari Hachibu concept where their caloric intake is a little bit lower, but I'll touch on this a little bit later too. They're vegan. They're considered amongst, frozen entrees to be much lower in sodium than others. Of course, they do still have sodium. This one is 23% of your daily value. But thinking about all of the meals you have, 23% in one of your bigger meals is not that bad. And of course, they also have their allergen statements, which many of them have soy, which is a very common food in at least the Okinawa, Japan region. High in potassium, a little bit of iron in these meals. So lots, but what I think you can see from the ingredient statement and the way that United States we write our ingredient statements, you'll see tofu puree and then all of the components that are within it. So even if an ingredient list looks long, that's the way we have to disclose all of the compounds that are within those ingredients. This one, I haven't tried the burrito bowl yet, but I know I'm going to love it. Sounds delicious. Okay. So this is I think I've tried this one. This is the sesame ginger bowl. This, of course, is inspired by Japan. And you'll see some of the call out ingredients, edamame, broccoli, ginger, definitely things you would expect. Similar nutrition, 240 calories, a little bit lower in sodium at 460, 7 grams of fiber, 11 grams of protein. This one is also gluten-free because they are using a gluten-free soy sauce. You can see the tamari here. This one earns 2 guiding stars. So they all do, just as a call out. But really, rich flavor profile here. And I think my next slide, I just wanted to showcase, I recommend going to their website, especially to read about the flavors you're interested in, because they have really beautiful web pages about each of them, highlighting what the inspiration was, some key ingredients and why they're chosen. It just lots of information. So I highly encourage you to check that out. Then the next one, I think this is Charlotte's favorite. So this is the minestrone pasta bowl from Sardinia, of course. 280 calories, pretty low for a pasta bowl if you think about it. 590 milligrams of sodium, so still under that 600 milligram, which is typically, a dietitian recommendation for frozen entrees. 11 grams of protein, 6 grams of dietary fiber. Again, a little boost of the potassium here. And that's something I like to call out too when people are worried about sodium in certain things. I often look like, well, what's the potassium look like? Because we really need a balance of sodium and potassium in our diets. And often when we're eating other really salty things, it doesn't have a lot of potassium. But this has beans and whole grains and vegetables, which are rich in potassium. So a really good balance here. Tomatoes, kale, red lentils are call out ingredients here, and it also earns a guiding star. This is the only one, I believe, of the six we carry that does have gluten. So it is a wheat because it is durum wheat, which is a high protein, high quality grain, but it does contain gluten. This one, I think this is the one I'm eating today. So this one is technically not a part of the five blue zones. But again, Dan has noticed there are similarities in some other regions. So this one, the heirloom rice bowl, is inspired by the cuisine of the Gullah Geechee people who live. They were the people who are there now are descendants of enslaved people who were, kidnapped from West and Central Africa to work on the rice plantations of the islands and kind of coastal areas of North and South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. And so they were there to work on those plantations. And so they ate a lot of rice, a lot of plant-based meals. They have a lot of community and bonds. And again, that's very similar to what we hear about in the blue zones. So some of the meals are inspired by other places, which I think is great to have this wide variety of flavor profiles and ingredients. So the call out ingredients here are red beans, Carolina gold rice, which that was what I did kind of a dive on. It looks so beautiful. Like rice is beautiful anyway, but it has a kind of gold hue to it. And then tons of spices are really very important in this meal. 310 calories, 440 milligrams of sodium. I haven't really been calling out the fat. It's all coming from unsaturated sources, so things like olive oils. In terms of total carbs, 46 grams, 7 of which are fiber though, and 10 grams of protein as well. Just really simple ingredient list here. As you can see, like it's the rice, it's the vegetables, lots of good spices. I'm excited to try this one today. I haven't tried it yet. And one call out here, I was watching a video about the Gullah Geechee people. They eat rice, breakfast, lunch, dinner. So again, they're seeing longevity and other health benefits too. This one in the table talk I remember mentioned is a favorite adobo mushroom bowl. I haven't tried this yet. I love mushrooms. I know I'm gonna love this one too. But this is inspired by Latin American cooking. Again, not technically, well, we have the Costa Rica, but this isn't necessarily called out because the burrito bowl was inspired by that region. This is more Mexican style cuisine, I would say, based on some of the ingredients. And the birria, hopefully I said that right. That's kind of the spice and flavor profile they were emulating. But some of the call out ingredients are mushrooms, so shiitake mushroom powder, black beans, portobello mushrooms, and brown rice in here as well. 260 calories, 7 grams of fat, 490 milligrams of sodium, 8 grams of fiber, incredible, and 10 grams of protein here, 2 guiding stars. I know I'm going to love this one. And then I believe this is our final one I'm going to call out today, but this is, again, not necessarily a place in the blue zones, but just another place where they're eating a lot of plant-based meals and seeing similar health benefits. So this is inspired by the iconic Korean bibimbap, which if you've tried, it means mixed rice, and it often has a lot of colorful vegetables and spices. Typically, you'll see here the gochujang, which is made with a gochugaru chili powder, which is similar, or it is the spice you see in like kimchi. So if you like that kind of flavor profile and spice, this is a great option for you. I will say I think I ate this one yesterday for lunch, and I didn't find it very spicy at all. I could have had like multiple levels higher of spice. But I think this would still be a great option, even if you're not super a fan of spice. But in terms of this one, they call out the adzuki beans. They were really delicious. The sauce with the chili powder and zucchini, which one of my favorite vegetables. The bowl itself is 310 calories, 10 grams of fat. So it does have both the olive oil and I believe it has toasted sesame oil. So that just bumps it up just a touch. But that's a very iconic oil to be used in Korean cuisine. It has how much? 490 milligrams of sodium, 10 grams of fiber, and 10 grams of protein. Just so perfect. All right. Now, let's say you look at this and you have a hearty appetite. Granted, we're thinking about that eating 80% full concept, but maybe, what are you thinking about it? So, in a lot of the Blue Zones regions, the way of eating typically is broken into this big breakfast, small dinner. So breakfast is the main meal. Like they eat a hearty breakfast because you need that to power you throughout the day. You don't really need a lot of energy at the end of the day when you're going to bed. So this is kind of how they break up their day. So breakfast is the main meal, lunch is a little smaller, dinner is quite light and eaten fairly early. And many of the regions have like a longer fast. They're not doing a ton of fasting like in some places, but they're just not eating from dinner until the time they wake up and eat this hearty breakfast. So not a lot of late night snacking and all that stuff. So this was on that one slide I kind of went through quickly, but many Blue Zone people also snack on nuts, 1 to 2 handfuls per day. So like in between meals, possibly with meals, nuts are a very big part of this diet as well. So if the entree seems a little light to you, you think you may need a little bit more calories at that meal, there are some things you could consider adding or incorporating. So these are also some foods that are very common in the Blue Zones diet. So I kind of thought through like, what would I pair with some of these? So you could do a slice of sourdough bread, or I think on their Instagram, I saw some things with like the burrito bowl. They had a really nice tortilla portion of nuts or seeds. Like I think some toasted sesame seeds on top of that Korean bowl would be delicious. More veggies, more beans, whole grains, or especially in the Japanese culture, tofu, tempeh. That's a really common and recommended protein source in this diet. A side of fruit. And then protein sparingly. So going back to that slide, people in the Blue Zones typically eat meat less than 5 times per month. Small fishes like sardines and anchovies about 3 times a week. Eggs typically less than 3 times a week, like 3 eggs per week. And sometimes fermented dairy, often goat milk. So again, these are some things to kind of consider and possibly add depending on your goals. And then, of course, not forgetting drinking a big glass of water with or before your meals, or, we want to be hydrated, and this is a part of the Blue Zones diets, and possibly green tea, which again kind of harkens back to that Okinawa dietary pattern. So just some things to think about if you're looking at them and being like, I typically eat more, think on that. And then if you're still hungry, like you're hungry, and not just that 80%, some things you could possibly add. In terms of cooking instructions for these frozen entrees, because they are ready to heat, the recommended way to cook them is in the microwave oven. And I will say, I cooked them both ways. I tried the oven and I tried the microwave, and I do agree with one just from the concept of these are meant to be things that, bring these fresh ingredients to you in a convenient way. Waiting for 40 minutes because like I got hungry and then I had to wait 40 minutes. So microwave works. The texture, the quality, honestly, I think was better in the microwave anyway. But if you're somebody who doesn't have a microwave, doesn't like microwaving, certainly the oven option does work. But all you do, so I'll kind of show you the bowl. So it comes in these really nice compostable bowls. You vent it just a little bit with the plastic, and then you microwave it 3 minutes. Give it a really good stir, pop it back in there with the film totally ripped off for a minute. It is definitely nice and hot then. They recommend temping it. 165 is the recommendation. And of course, every microwave is different. If you do want to bake it, the recommendation is 350. You leave the film intact. It didn't burn, it didn't melt, Just you leave it intact. You bake it for 40 minutes or until internal temp of 165. You know me, I'm a food safety girly and I did temp mine. I probably didn't need to go the full 40 minutes. My oven's really tiny though, so again, just kind of figuring out what works for you, but mine got up to like 180, so I probably could have taken it out a little bit sooner. To recap all of those meals we just touched on, because I know it was a lot. No added sugar in their ingredients, in their recipes. And that's really important because a lot of frozen entrees do to have that kind of flavor profile that people are seeking. But it's really important to not have a lot of added sugar in our diets, especially for longevity. So no added sugar. And this is really crucial in like the sauces that they're making. They're vegan, whole foods, plant-based meals. They have 6 to 10 grams of fiber, depending on the entree, 10 or 11 grams of protein, plant-based protein. Many are gluten-free, except for the pasta bowl with the durum. So just look out for that if you're gluten-free. And all of the ones we carry here at the Giant Company earn guiding stars, which is, I'm not shocked reading the nutrition, but just an important call out. Another beautiful picture. So, what are other people saying about Blue Zone's kitchens? Because you've heard from us, which is important. I'm glad you tune into our classes, but what are some other people saying? Some customers. So, this person said the burrito bowl was their absolute favorite of the lineup, though they're all great. They eat it a couple times a week for lunch. Easy thing to just pack for lunch. The portion size is great, and they dump it into a tortilla. So, again, it kind of just enhances the eating experience, but also maybe it makes it a little bit more filling. They're very busy. They love vegetables, but they have no time to chop them up. They're so grateful for this brand existing. And I like this comment to help reverse engineer aging. Great combination of flavors. I would not chop or cook all these ingredients, so it's a fast, tasty, healthy meal. Exactly. You didn't have to go source and cook azuki beans. You got to eat them in this really great quality meal. I like this one too. Man, when the wife's out for the evening or I'm packing lunch to take to work, I reach for these 99% of the time. They're filling, delicious, super quick to prepare. Everything I want in a meal without all the garbage that's typically in other frozen meals. Surprisingly delicious for a frozen meal. The flavors taste fresh and balanced. It's healthy, perfect, quick for a quick lunch that doesn't feel heavy. And it's one of the best gluten-free options that they have found too. Another pretty picture. Just a couple FAQs before I eat my meal. So this is on their website. The FAQ word here is linked. They have some other questions too, but I tried to pull out ones I thought were relevant to us. So do your meals contain any artificial ingredients? No, the meals are free from fillers, sugar, artificial ingredients, because they believe, especially based on, these blue zones, that the beans, the veggies, the grains, and the spices make the meal great, and they really want that to be the star. Are the meals vegan, plant-based? Absolutely, that's all they are. Are the meals organic and where do you source the ingredients? So they call out the beans, especially in the meals, are sourced organic. We've touched on organic in other classes, so sometimes it's not feasible, but they do prioritize local and directly sourcing ingredients wherever possible. So, you can just tell from Dan and all of the work he's done that that's really important to them. So they are searching for those optimal quality, freshness, and taste from these good quality ingredients. The meals are also non-GMO verified. Are the meals kosher? They're not technically certified kosher at this time. Of course, they don't contain any animal products. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are inherently kosher. So they do not have that certification. And are the packages eco-friendly? They are. So this is something, again, I love about a company that, I scrolled real far back when I was on their social media, and they used to have different bowls. But, the people that are eating these style meals, they want more, right? They don't want plastic bowls. So their cartons are now this, again, this, 100% compostable material. It's really sturdy though. It's really nice. And the box is recyclable as well. So again, just a really high quality product. If you're interested, I always love following brands on social media. So they have Facebook and Instagram. So both of these little logos here are clickable in the recap PDF, but definitely make sure you check it out. They post recipes and inspiration and just a lot of good content on there. And what's on deck before I eat my meal here? So Monday we have Flyer to Fork. Tuesday we have Fresh Finds. Joni is talking about tea, which kind of relates today to the Blue Zones, thinking back to like the green tea in Okinawa. So make sure you register for those. So I'm going to stop sharing. Let's make sure. I think you can see me. So today for my meal, I am going to eat the, let's see. The heirloom rice bowl. So again, this one is inspired by the Gula Geechee people in the those coastal regions outside of like North, South Carolina, Georgia, etc. The recipe ingredients called out here: the kale, tomato, red beans, sweet potato, and Carolina gold rice, plant-based, of course. It just again, like the pictures, the quality are just so beautiful. I will say, so I've eaten one for lunch every day this week almost. And I started with the Korean rice bowl, or this is the one I ate yesterday. Really not very spicy, has the spinach and the adzuki beans. So delicious. I think it was this one, like the carrots were still so crunchy and like had a bite to them, which sometimes you don't always get when you have a frozen entree. So just like the texture and quality is so good. And then I also had the sesame ginger bowl the day before. So just really delicious. I've loved them all so far. But let me show you. So again, I think I already showed it's kind of like the little thing that you pull off or bent, and then the bowl. So I just kind of wanted to show, it's getting blurry. Just really nice. I can't compost here, but I keep all my compost things and then I bring it to my dad's. So I will be composting mine, but just so great that they will break down. And then so I put it in here to kind of keep it warm, and it is still warm. So let's see. And I just love it's got veggies on it. But it just smells so good. Like just not something you'd anticipate. And just the color and the texture, the rice looks so delicious. What one is this again? The heirloom rice bowl. So I'm just so excited. I love paprika. It's probably my favorite spice. So just very excited. That is so good. I'm glad I let it cool down. That is so good. Ooh, it does have a little bit of a kick. But again, I haven't noticed any of them to be like super spicy. But of course, we all have different spice tolerances, but this is so good. I did love them. So I am so appreciative of you joining me today to learn more about the Blue Zones kitchen meals that we carry, the 6 varieties. This is really good. So again, this is the one I'm eating today, the heirloom rice bowl. But if you have any questions, concerns, please do reach out and ask. But I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks. Take care.